we're looking the day after verdict day, what's going to happen in national politics, also the road to 2024. But one of the intriguing questions is what happens now within the Congress, especially to the old guard, Ashok Gehlot and Kamal Nath. A short while ago, we had Ashok Gehlot's former OSD telling us that he believes that Mr. Gehlot made several mistakes in that campaign, including not accommodating Sachin Pilot. I'm joined now by CP Joshi, the former Speaker of the Rajasthan Assembly, senior Congress leader, joins me. He lost the election. Joshi ji, हार जीत तो होती रहती है, but thank you so much for joining us. आप हमें बताइए, do you also agree that Ashok Gehlot ji should take the responsibility, because हर पोस्टर में उन्हीं का चेहरा था. If you had won, he gets the credit. Now that you've lost, he must take the responsibility, and perhaps someone else, कोई और को इस बार लेजिस्लेचर पार्टी लीडर बनाना चाहिए.
कांग्रेस पार्टी के इलेक्शनिंग को समझना चाहिए. जब भी कांग्रेस पार्टी किसी प्रदेश में चुनाव लड़ती है तो प्रदेश कांग्रेस कमेटी का जो अध्यक्ष होता है और राजस्थान स्टेट का जो मुख्यमंत्री होता है, मुख्यमंत्री के नेतृत्व में प्रदेश कांग्रेस कमेटी मिलकर चुनाव का काम करती है. और उसको सुपरविजन करने के लिए ऑल इंडिया कांग्रेस कमेटी का जनरल सेक्रेटरी होता है, उनके साथ एड करने के लिए और सीनियर लीडर होते हैं. कुल मिलाकर किसी भी इलेक्शन में स्ट्रेटजी बनाने में हाईकमांड और सबकी सामूहिक भूमिका होती है.
नहीं, पर क्या अशोक गहलोत की जवाबदेही अब होती है या नहीं?
नहीं, ये डिसाइड करने का काम हाईकमांड का है, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली दिस इज डिसीजन ऑफ द हाईकमांड.
बीजेपी ने जिस तरीके से स्ट्रेटेजी गढ़ी, कई सारे हाई प्रोफाइल चेहरों को उतारा, एमपीज को उतारा. जोशी जी, मैं दर्शकों को दिखाना चाहता हूं कि आपकी जो नाथद्वारा की सीट थी वहां पर क्या हुआ. सो विश्वराज मेवाड़, द erstwhile scion of the royal family there, picked up 94,243 votes. CP Joshi of the Congress, who's with us, picked up 86,607 votes. So a very clear win here, and all the heavyweights who were brought in from Delhi made to contest as well. The likes of Diya Kumari, the likes of Rajyavardhan Rathore, the likes of Balaknath, all of them doing well. कहीं ना कहीं जो पूरी ताकत लगाने की बीजेपी की जो स्ट्रेटेजी थी, आपको लगता है कि वो कामयाब रही? और आप जिस तरीके से बच कर डिफेंसिव खेलने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, सचिन पायलट को जगह नहीं दी गई पूरी तरीके से, बीजेपी ने अपनी पूरी ताकत लगाई, पूरा ये जो पासा था पलटना ही था, या आपको लगता है कि जो 5 साल का रिवाज है, 5 साल में सरकार बदलती रहती, उसी के पार्ट ये हुआ? Could things have been different according to you? Where did you go wrong?
You have to understand it. Now Indian politics is turning. Indian politics में किसी भी स्टेट में जो लीडर परफॉर्म कर रहा है, जो पार्टी परफॉर्म कर रही है, उसके आधार पर मतदान हो रहा है. राजस्थान में पिछली बार कांग्रेस की सरकार बनी, 39% वोट था. एज पर कॉमन सेंस एंटी इनकम्बेंसी होनी चाहिए. राजस्थान में तो एंटी इनकम्बेंसी नहीं है. जो रिजल्ट बता रहे हैं वो 39% से ज्यादा वोट कांग्रेस पार्टी को मिले हैं. ये शो करता है कि राजस्थान की सरकार ने परफॉर्म किया है. उस परफॉर्म के आधार पर लोगों ने वोट दिया. कांग्रेस पार्टी
कैसे गए? दर्शकों को दिखाता हूं आप क्या बोल रहे हैं. एक सेकंड, दर्शकों को दिखा दूं कि आप एग्जैक्टली क्या बोल रहे हैं. दिस इज द हिस्टोरिकल वोट शेयर ऑफ राजस्थान. This time the Congress's vote share is 40%. Last time it was 39.3. The BJP's vote share is 38.8 in the last election. This time it's 42. So it's 3% up. Your vote share is roughly the same, maybe a little bit more. पर सर ये तो कोई बात नहीं ना कि हमने अच्छी बैटिंग की, दूसरी टीम निकाल गई मैच. अरे सर, जो जीता वही सिकंदर. आप लोग नहीं जीत पाए, ये फैक्ट है. आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि हम पहले भी 40% थे, अब भी 40%. अरे सर, दूसरी टीम तो बाजी ले गई.
वो परिणाम आपका है. अपनी बात चल रही थी स्ट्रेटजी के हिसाब से. किसी भी सरकार की जो परफॉर्मेंस है उसका मापदंड क्या होता है कि सरकार के जो पिछले वोट थे उससे कम वोट मिले तो वह परफॉर्मेंस नहीं हुई है. सरकार ने जो काम किया उस काम के आधार पर जितने वोट से पिछली बार सरकार बनी उससे उतने वोट ले लिए. सामने वाली पार्टी ने ज्यादा मेहनत की और उनकी स्थिति सफल रही. इसके परिणाम उस दृष्टि से है.
लेकिन जोशी जी, ये भी कहा जा रहा है कि अगर सचिन पायलट को 6 महीने पहले अकोमोडेट किया जाता, ये जो फोटो आप लास्ट मिनट हुआ, ये फोटो आप नहीं, एक तरह से एक यूनाइटेड कैंपेन अगर 6 महीने पहले शुरू होता तो शायद आपको और सफलता मिलती. जो 41% है आपको 39% है, आपको 43-44% मिलते. आप मानते हैं was that a mistake? आज की तारीख में क्या आप मानते हैं कि that was a mistake on the part of the Congress?
मैंने कहा ना, किसी व्यक्ति के आधार पर चुनाव नहीं होता है. चुनाव बनाने में कांग्रेस पार्टी का हाईकमान अपनी नीति बनाता है, निर्धारित करता है. हमने अपनी स्ट्रेटजी बनाई कि हम राजस्थान में इलेक्शन में कैसे जाएंगे. उस इलेक्शन में जो नैरेटिव है, उस नैरेटिव के आधार पर हमने चुनाव लड़ा और हमारे.
सीपी जोशी जी, एक सवाल करूंगी. Of all the seats in Rajasthan, your particular constituency was one of the most polarizing campaigns that it had seen. आपको लगता है कन्हैया लाल की बात, सनातन धर्म की बात भारी पड़ गई आपको?
नहीं, मैं इस दृष्टि से देखता हूँ, आपको चुनाव को राजस्थान नाथद्वारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी चुनाव को समझना चाहिए। श्रीनाथ जी वैष्णव संप्रदाय की प्रमुख पीठ है। पिछली बार मैं 5,000 वोट से जीता। इस बार नाथद्वारा प्रॉपर टाउन ने मुझे लीड 301 वोट की है। नाथद्वारा की एक बहुत प्रभावशाली फैमिली जो पालीवाल फैमिली है, रघुनाथ पालीवाल जी जो फ्रीडम फाइटर थे, जिनके सन नवनीत पालीवाल वहां पर एमएलए थे, उस फैमिली के सन इन लॉ मेरी नियर कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी मावली से बीजेपी के उम्मीदवार थे। पालीवाल समुदाय के जो लोग थे, उन लोगों को लगा कि अब भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने हमारे रिश्तेदार को टिकट दिया है, उसका इम्पैक्ट मेरी कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में भी आया है।
Okay, we'll leave it over there for the time being. Thank you so much, CP Joshi ji. Let's see what really happens and whether the Congress party learns the lessons that it really should. So thank you so much. I want to introduce now two of my colleagues who are joining us. Siddharth Zarabi is the managing editor of Business Today Television. Shail Bhatnagar heads markets coverage as chief analyst. So welcome. We saw Siddharth, the markets giving 1,000-point salute. Very enthused. So you got the netas wondering kaun banega mukhyamantri, and you got the markets cheering the BJP rally.
Absolutely, and I think there will be more cheer right up till the next general election, Lok Sabha election. And I'm reminded of the market response in 2014 and 2019, and this is perhaps pre-Diwali time for the Indian stock markets, given what has happened in the 3 state elections.
Shail, your reading, was this like a one-day 1,000-gun salute, or do you think this is a rally which is now likely to gain some steam?
I think, Rahul, we'll see much better days ahead because a lot of good things are happening on the capital markets, apart from this stunning electoral victory that's come in. So we are already at somewhere like 2,500 on the Nifty, actually 2,700, and possibly 21,000 fairly soon, and 22,000 is also coming, and that's mainly because a lot of money from overseas will now come into especially the blue chips, because they've been underperforming relatively over the last 6 odd months. And that's the reason why you'll see a very, very sharp uptick on the market.
So are you saying, Shail, that basically political stability at the moment, because it's been such a comprehensive victory for the BJP in the Hindi heartland, gives the markets the belief that it's almost inevitable that Mr. Modi will come back for a third time? Is that where the buoyancy is coming from? Where has this sudden buoyancy this morning come from?
So the buoyancy is basically continuity of what the government has been doing over so many years. So if you look at the winners that are in the markets today, of course, they are government PSUs, but it's the infrastructure pack. You know, things that go into making roads, highways, ports. Those are the stocks that have gone up very sharply. So one is continuity. The other fact is that you've seen markets typically discount events 6 months ahead. And what we see it is this is a semi-final. And the fact that the final looks a bit easier now than what it was maybe a couple of months ago.
It's not just political signals, Siddharth, also the fact that GST collections showed a record increase. The GDP numbers for Q2 were much better. The Prime Minister and everybody else mighty enthused by it. So there are lots of dots, and the government's hoping those dots will be joined together before the general elections to paint a rosy picture.
I think the dots are completely joined. If you look at the tenure and the second election of Manmohan Singh, he had virtually no tailwinds, and he had the Bombay attack behind him. If you look at the macro picture and the political economy picture, this is the best tailwind in perhaps 20 years that any government has had. And this is not India shining, mind you. This is very, very solid stuff on the ground.
What's the difference between India shining and now?
Well, because you didn't have grassroots delivery, you didn't have schemes, you didn't have a program which is spending, let's say, 12 lakh crore over the next 5 years on the Anna Yojana, which has just recently been extended by 5 years. If you look at it in terms of the short-term announcements that were just made in the run-up to this calculation, to this election, one calculation suggests that 48,500 crore of additional spending on various welfare schemes has been promised in the run-up to this election, and a bulk of that will now happen in the 4 big states, obviously. The pressure will come from the fiscal side. But I'll tell you one thing very quickly. The whole thing about going back to the old pension scheme, till a week back, even the centre was under pressure. The Finance Secretary, Mr. Somnathan's report is going to come soon. I think now that pressure is off. And that's what the markets are also cheering, that Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister is not under fiscal populistic pressure, Rajdeep.
Let's be clear, there is fiscal populistic pressure in all the states. A
No,
lot of announcements
there
have
is
been
a
made.
difference.
However, challenge me if you want. I think you make the good point about old pension scheme. Because the Congress in Rajasthan was actually saying we'll bring in a legislation to notify the old pension scheme and bring it and benefit people. So are all Congress ruled states. I think they pulled back on that, which is great. You know, having lost, they're going to have hopefully pull back on that because it's crazy. The old pension scheme was replaced by the new one by the Congress itself. And then you went back to it, you won Himachal Pradesh, and you thought you could do it in every state. So that's the good news. But to tell me that fiscal populism does not exist in BJP-ruled states or at the center is the worry. When you say all these welfare schemes, you wonder many of these states are hugely in debt.
Rajdeep,
you can't turn around and tell me there's no challenge in Rajasthan or Chhattisgarh or Madhya Pradesh.
I was making the limited point that the center scheme, Prime Minister Modi's schemes are targeted delivery of subsidies versus free power. There is no free power announcement by the BJP in any state or at the center.
There is free scooty announcements, for example,
there
in
is
Rajasthan.
no free power. Those are small giveaways. The Manmohan Singh government also wanted to give 10 lakh mobile phones. Fact is, they could never come up with a scheme and implementation. Remember that in the run-up to the 2014 election. There is targeted, delivery of money, and I look at the numbers, 12 lakh crore on free food, and that is having a massive impact on nutrition and, women health at the ground. So I would say we have to make this big distinction, but the bulk of the heavy lifting is done. Mr. Modi will go into this general election, the Lok Sabha election, without having to worry, will OPS do something to me or will the pay commission do? By the way, the next pay commission is to come into effect in 2026. I believe some announcement between now and March, April is definitely